Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I am very excited for today's video, and I think a lot of you might be excited for this as well. I got my hands on the newest Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette. This is the Major Dimension 3 All Matte palette. I was excited for this one, so I want to dive into it. I'm thinking of doing 2 looks, one warm, one cool. Let's get into it. Alright, so this is the palette right here. This retails for $70. This is so expensive. I feel like Patrick Ta definitely went up on his eyeshadow prices because I don't remember the palettes being $70. I do own his other 2 palettes, which we will compare with this one. Right off the bat, this one is all matte. Seeing this palette in person, I think it's even more beautiful. So this top row is all warm tones, and then this bottom row is all cool tones. Just based off how this palette looks, I feel like a lot of you are going to love the fact that you have cool tones and you have warm tones. So it's kind of like essentially 2 palettes in one if you think about it. I do really love how he laid this palette out. I'm thinking today I want to do 2 looks, hopefully, with all of the shades on the top row and then all of the shades on the bottom row. I want to start off with the warm tones first because I feel like it'll be easier to clean off the eye rather than going in with like the blacks and all of that. I'm hoping that this formula is the formula that I know and love. My favorite palette from Patrick Ta is the Major Dimension 2. This one is the more rose tone palette. It's so beautiful. The shimmers in this palette is absolutely gorgeous. Just look at this. And these are just my tones. I have the first one, which is not really my favorite, but it is a really great everyday palette. But it does lean very, very warm. But if you love warm tones, you're gonna like this one. Let's get into it. I'm excited to see what we can create with this. I feel like with the warm tones in this palette, it's great to create an everyday look. Let's start with this shade right here. Oh, also another thing I wanted to mention is that the packaging on his palette is like all matte. The sides are not. You can see all of my fingerprints there. Same with the back. On his second palette, he has like the matte edges, and then on the newest one, it's like all matte. This is not the deepest shade. So yeah, immediately this blends so, I love Patrick Ta's matte formula. I feel like it's so smooth and so blendable. So I'm just working this into my crease. That's pretty. And I love that this isn't even the deepest shade, so that's great. I'm thinking for the more warm tones, we're gonna do more of like an everyday look. Hopefully. That's how I'm hoping it's gonna come out. And then with the, the cool tones, we do like a smoky night out kind of look, and we'll see how that goes. This is great. I feel like with this shade, as a wash of color, this is perfect. We've used this shade all over the lid for a wash of color. Taking some of this shade right here, I'm gonna use this up here just to kind of help to soften those edges, just to help diffuse it. It's nothing too fancy, but I do like that it's kind of like this warm, almost taupey, like the equivalent to a taupe, but just warmer. And I like that for softening up the edges. Next, we're gonna take the cream shade, which I love that he puts creams in these. That way you can use them as like bases and different things like that, or liner. So I'm just gonna keep this in the outer corner and just kind of keep that there just to make it a little bit more smoky, but not too smoky. I'm gonna use the same brush to just blend on top of that. We're gonna go on with another shade to fully set it, but just to blend this. I'm gonna take this deepest shade right here, and I'm gonna use that to set on top. So far, the shadows are blending out really beautifully. This is like the Patrick Ta matte formula that I know and love. I love that every shade is one step up and one step down. It's perfect. I'm gonna take this shade. My plan is to use all of the shades in the palette, and I'm just going to pack this on the lid, just like to add a little bit of, brightness to this look, soften it up a little bit, and kind of like open up the eye. So that's what I'm doing. Let's go in with the lightest shade from the warm tones. I'm gonna pop that right there in the inner corner, just to add a little bit of brightness right there in the inner corner. I'm gonna go back into that deepest shade and just diffuse it into that lighter shade we put down. And this is honestly the prettiest, like easiest everyday look using the entire top row. It's an all matte palette, so far what I'm getting is that this is just the perfect everyday palette. Like they have staple shades in here. If you want to just do a 1-2 out the door. This is like not the most extravagant eye look. Now what I would really like to do is go on with the black and add a wing, but I really want to keep the looks kind of separate. I wanted to do a warm look and a cool tone look. I'm gonna go and do the other eye and finish up the rest of the makeup. And then we're gonna move on to look number 2, which I'm very excited about. Even though I don't really wear cool tones, I'm excited to play with the cool tones. So here's the first look using the top warmer row of the palette. Now that I have this look on, I feel like the top row is not as warm as I thought, but it kind of looks a little bit cool in a way. Now this is more of like an everyday look. Like this is what I would do on an everyday basis. When I don't want to do too much with my makeup, this is the kind of look that I would do. So the top row at least is perfect for that. Now let's tap into these cool tones. It's gonna hurt to take this look off, but now I'm ready to get smoky, add a lash or something. I'm ready to take this look to the next level. So I went and took the other look off, and then I've already created the cool toned look that I wanted to do. When it comes to cool tones, I don't usually wear them, and a lot of times they can look a little bit muddy on me, and I just don't like them. But I created this look that I really like, so I'm going to show you what I did. And I did use all of the shades down here. So to start, I'm going to take this shade right here. You know, there's a lot of kick up with these mattes, so keep that in mind. Just taking the shade all throughout the crease, and I'm just building it up until I get the intensity that I want. These mattes perform really beautifully and they blend so easily. So I do appreciate that. Just look at how easy this just blended into the skin. Like that is pretty. Love that. And next, to get more of a seamless blend, I'm going with this shade right here right next to it. Just taking a little bit of that and just blending the edges of the shade I just put down to make it a little bit softer, just like that. It's really pretty. Then I took the black cream right here. Love that he put this in here. Then I'm just going to pack this in the outer corner. Just like this. I'm going to pack and then blend. These blend really easily as well. So I do love that. And I'm just keeping this in the outer corner. I wanted this look to be extremely smoky. So that's what I'm doing. Once that's blended, I'm going to go in with the black matte and basically set it and blend over the edges. Smoky look. This is truly a night out kind of look. Truly. Then of course I did a classic cut crease. I just felt like this made the look a lot cleaner. When I'm working with cool tones, I gotta be very precise with them because I don't want it to get muddy looking. I'm doing a half cut crease. The crease is cut. Go into this shade right here. I'm gonna use that to set the base that I just put down. Right here. Setting the entire base with this shade. I'm going to go into this white shade. Now, this is an actual white that he put in the palette, but I'm going to take just a tiny bit of this because this is stark white. And I'm just going to blend this in the inner corner just to add a little bit of brightness to the look. Just like that. That is so pretty. Then I'm taking that same brush that I went into the black with and then just blending in the edges of this look. That is a pretty smoky eye. Very different from the last look that I did that was more daytime every day. This is truly, I'm going out. Like, I would like to add a little bit of like glitter, you know, on the lid, call it a day. But this is great. So for the lower lash, I am going to add a black liner in the waterline. But for the lower lash, I think I'm just going to take this black. And I'm just keeping the black in the outer corner. Just here. Then I'm going to go into this shade and put it here and blend it into the black. Here is the finished look. I love how this came out. This is 100% different from the first one, but I definitely think that's the beauty of this palette. Let's get into some comparisons on palettes you may already have that's very similar to this one. The first one, and I think the biggest one, is the Makeup by Mario palette. We have the Makeup by Mario and the Patrick Ta. So immediately you can see that the Made by Mario palette is a lot more warmer, and you don't really get cool tones in this palette. So if you like cool tones, the Makeup by Mario is definitely not giving you that. With the Patrick Ta, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get cool and warm tones in here, even though I feel like the Makeup by Mario leans a lot more warm tone than the Patrick Ta. But you do get the same amount of shades, so it really just depends on if you want those cool tones as well. The Makeup by Mario palette is cheaper. I believe it's $50 as opposed to $20 more for this one. The other palette I pulled out is the Kylie Cosmetics one. You don't get as many shades, but I just wanted to compare this one because this is the other all matte palette that I have. 2 cool tones. Not even that, maybe just 1 cool tone in the Kylie. I feel like the Kylie is more similar to the Makeup by Mario. A lot of people were thinking that this new palette is very similar to his first one as far as the warm tones, and I kind of feel like that is pretty true. It's not exactly the same. I do feel like his first palette leans super, super warm, whereas the new palette is kind of like those mid-toned warm shades. I feel like with this palette, what it truly, truly comes down to is your preference. Do you want a palette that has warm tones and cool tones, or are you not going to touch the cool tones, or are you not going to touch the warm tones? I like to read the comments on things, and I did see a lot of people were saying under the reveal post that they were hoping that this was going to be an all cool tone palette. And I'm here to tell you, the warmer shades in this palette aren't as warm as you think. Like, you saw the first look. When I had it on, I was like, wow, this is not as warm as I thought. It's more of like that neutral, borderline, almost warm. Now, the cool tones in this palette are super, super cool. I feel like the mattes in this palette are so blendable and so easy to use. This is a $70 palette. Is this something that you absolutely need? No, you definitely don't. We all have mattes in our collection. I definitely think the creams in this palette are my favorite part. You really can amp up your looks with these cream shadows. You can use it as liner or whatever you want. I don't gravitate to cool tones, but I feel like if my outfit, the overall vibe called for a cool tone look, I'll have no problem pulling out this palette and creating a cool tone look. So I feel like this is just a great staple palette to have if you don't have anything like this in your collection and you don't have a big eyeshadow palette collection. You might not have these tones, so this is a great palette to invest in. The formula is amazing, but I would love to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think about this palette? Let your girl know, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.